Hey, what's going on YouTube? Thanks for stopping by Reaction Theory. Today's episode is going to be about Janis Joplin. I love Janis Joplin music. She was incredible. She was one of the top female artists back in the 60s with songs like Me and Bobby McGee and Piece of My Mind and Cry Baby and so many other great songs. But here is a storyline of the tragic life of Janis Joplin. I hope you guys really enjoy it. Thanks for stopping by. Please subscribe. Please like. Let's get it started.
There are a few visual accoutrements that are immediately associated with Janis. Her 1964 Porsche 356 with its custom psychedelic paint job, her oversized round rose-tinted sunglasses, and of course, the ever-present bottle of Southern Comfort whiskey. She'd take a fifth of Southern Comfort with her on stage and take slugs straight out of the bottle in between songs, as if she was drinking from a water bottle.
Southern Comfort is really good with lemonade. I haven't had Southern Comfort in I don't know how long, but with some lemonade on a nice hot day and some Southern Comfort, oh my God, you'd be straight.
1970, when Rolling Stone writer David Dalton was following her around for a cover story, he listed the following items found in her oversized purse: an antique cigarette holder, several motel and hotel room keys, tapes of Johnny Cash and Otis Redding, and the requisite bottle of Southern Comfort, which he noted was empty. She was obsessed with the drink. It relaxed her and loosened her up when she'd dig deep down to reach the pain and suffering of the blues. For whatever reason, the New Orleans-based whiskey company appreciated her love for their product and extended a gift of thanks for her patronage, and let's be honest, the free publicity. As the story goes, the Southern Comfort folks sent her a full-length lynx fur coat and matching hat for her support. Of course, today, animal activists and social justice warriors would be up in arms over a high-profile celebrity wearing fur. But this was the late 60s, so it was cool, man. Maybe she sensed something, but Joplin mysteriously made adjustments to her will just 2 days before her death on October 4th, 1970. She mostly gave her estate to her parents, with some additional wealth going to each of her siblings. But what's unusual is that she had $2,500 put aside for her friends to throw a party in her honor. The stipulation allowed 200 people to hold an all-night gathering at her favorite pub, so my friends can get blasted after I'm gone.
Wow. Isn't it amazing how some people have that sense that they're going to pass on? You know, you always hear how people do certain things like changing their will or creating a will, and probably a month later they pass on or something like that. It's like they kind of have this intuition that they're going to pass on. I just think that is so bizarre, so crazy, but it happens, you know.
Jim Morrison allegedly wagging his little Jim in front of a Florida audience was a non-event that could only happen during the conservative 60s? Think again. Janis Joplin did less, and it earned her a night in jail. As we all know by now, Jim Morrison was arrested for allegedly exposing himself at a March 2nd concert in Miami, Florida, and became the object of 6 arrest warrants, including one for a felony charge of lewd and lascivious behavior in public, by exposing his private parts and simulating masturbation and oral copulation. That's all it took for the ultra-conservative people of Florida to become concerned when Joplin came.
Crazy part was this was in Florida, out of all places. Something like that will get you locked up in Florida. Only God knows what you can do in Florida now without even getting locked up.
Came into town later that year for a gig at the Curtis Hickson Hall. As Joplin was performing for the rowdy Floridians, someone made the decision to turn the house lights on to calm the rambunctious crowd. As the auditorium was filled with lights, a few police officers climbed onto the stage and asked Joplin to help them quiet the crowd. She refused and instead screamed obscenities at the cops. Eventually, the crowd quieted enough so that the show could continue and Joplin was allowed to finish, unlike Morrison, who was arrested in the middle of his gig. But Joplin was later arrested in her dressing room and spent the night in jail. The charges were eventually dropped when a judge felt she was simply exercising her freedom of speech. Joplin once said of her lifestyle, I live pretty loose, balling with strangers and stuff. Although she was very open about who she hooked up with, she often suffered emotionally if she felt that one of her lovers was letting her down. That said, Joplin ran into musician Leonard Cohen in the Chelsea Hotel elevator in 1968, culminating in the two spending the night together. The affair was short-lived, however, and for Joplin, it apparently ended in heartbreak. Cohen wrote about the encounter in his classic song Chelsea Hotel No. 2, but didn't admit it was about Joplin until years after she had died. This is how Cohen recalled the night. "My lungs gathered my courage. I said to her, 'Are you looking for someone?' She said, 'Yes, I'm looking for Chris Christopherson.' The lithe, debonair Cohen had never been mistaken for the large, gruff Christopherson, but he took a shot anyway. I said, 'Little lady, you're in luck. I am Chris Christopherson.' She wasn't looking for me. She was looking for Chris Christopherson. I wasn't looking for her. I was looking for Brigitte Bardot. But we fell into each other's arms through some process of elimination." Becomes something of a rock and roll cliche now, but yes, the 27 Club is real.
It's amazing how some of the best artists of all time is a part of the 27 Club. Amy Winehouse, Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, um, um, Kurt Cobain. I mean, it just amazes me how many of some of the greatest artists of all time died at the age of 27. And one of the saddest ones for me was Amy Winehouse, because I absolutely loved her, and it's just very disappointing.
And sadly, Janis Joplin is a founding member. After a doctor told the singer she'd never reach the age of 24 if she kept on smoking, drugging, and drinking her Southern Comfort, Joplin was hard-pressed to prove him wrong. While Joplin's primary vice was the aforementioned Southern Comfort, she did develop a devastating addiction to heroin in the mid-1960s. Her usage steadily worsened, and by 1969, she was allegedly using approximately $200 worth of heroin every day. That's about $700 a day if you account for inflation. After her friends intervened, she managed to quit the habit, only to relapse later. On October 4, 1970, she was scheduled to record vocals for a track called Buried Alive in the Blues, a song that was slated to appear on her upcoming solo album, Pearl. When she never arrived at the recording studio, she was eventually found deceased in her hotel room from an apparent overdose. Joplin's death at the age of 27 made her a member of the 27 Club, a list comprised of other artists who passed away at the same age, including Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix, who died only 16 days after Joplin, Kurt Cobain, and Amy Winehouse. As a child, Joplin was bullied for her appearance and different behavior, and this abuse continued all the way through college. In addition to weight and acne problems from her youth, she struggled with self-esteem issues for her entire life. A good, albeit upsetting, example of this took place when she was attending the University of Texas at Austin in 1962. During her first and only year at U of T, Joplin was voted ugliest man on campus by the school's fraternities, a label that bothered her for the rest of her life. If that nomination and win wasn't what made her drop out of college, it certainly had to be a major contributing factor. She soon left school and her beloved home state of Texas for San Francisco. She later said she left Texas for San Francisco to escape the angry men who liked to pick on her. Joplin learned one thing from her early years of being kicked around by men. It's that she didn't take crap from them later on when she found fame and confidence. A prime example of this was when she met Jim Morrison for the first time. The meeting took place at music producer Paul Rothchild's house, a hugely successful music producer who was friends with Jim and Janis. Rothschild knew Joplin had a thing for Morrison, and he thought the two of them meeting was inevitable, so he took it upon himself to make it happen. Rothschild told Blair Jackson in a BAM magazine interview, "I thought, here's the king and queen of rock and roll. They should meet. So I got them together at a party in Hidden Hills. They both showed up sober and are getting along great. Jim is fascinated by this remarkable girl, and of course, Jim was also a fascinating guy. And really good looking. Janis loved to f***. That was her single greatest pastime. She saw this hunk of meat and said, I want that." The way the story goes, Morrison and Joplin got on famously at first. But as the night progressed, Jim got wasted in true Morrison fashion, while Janis took measured swigs from a bottle of Southern Comfort, maintaining a regal air of drunken charisma. Morrison became rude, violent, and what Rothschild described as a cretin and a disgusting drunk, sloppily trying to seduce Joplin. Joplin had enough of Morrison and the party, so she decided they should leave. As Joplin and Rothschild made their way to her car, Morrison ran out of the house and made one more attempt to close the deal. Morrison then reached into Joplin's car, grabbed a chunk of her hair, and tried to pull her out, caveman style. With her hair in Morrison's grubby fist, Janis swung a bottle of Southern Comfort and hit him over the head with it, shattering glass everywhere and knocking the Lizard King out cold.
Wow. Wow. I was born in the 80s. I'm an 80s baby. I can only imagine what life could have been like, being able to experience the 60s and the 70s. It always fascinates me just to see what that life could, it's just fascinating to me. I don't know why, but it just is. But that right there, Janis wasn't taking no crap. She had her Southern Comfort. And not only was it to relax her, but it was also to protect her too.
Although she spent a number of her formative years playing jangly folk music, blues is what Joplin was most interested in and what made her famous. "I want to be the first black, white person," she once said. While she loved Billie Holiday and considered the blues legend a hero, Joplin adored Bessie Smith. She claimed Smith was her biggest influence and inspiration, and that she felt such a connection to Smith that she even believed she might be her reincarnation. When Joplin learned that Smith's family in 1937 had buried her in an unmarked grave, she became so angered she split the cost for a tombstone with one of Smith's employees. So on August 7th, 1970, Bessie Smith finally got her tombstone, thanks to Joplin and Juanita Green, who, as a child, had done housework for Smith. The stone's epitaph now reads, "The greatest blues singer in the world will never stop singing." Joplin knew pain, suffering, and the feeling of being an outcast. It's no surprise that she was sensitive to those feelings in other people as well. While Joplin wasn't perfect, she never hurt anyone except herself due to her substance abuse. She always stuck up for people on the bottom of the totem pole. When Janis's 10th grade social studies class in her racially segregated high school discussed racial integration, her strong support of integration provoked a social backlash from several classmates who swarmed around her, calling her an N-lover as she walked to the next class. "They laughed me out of class, out of town, out of the state," she said after moving to California. But as insecure as she was, as we'd later find out, she was able to find strength to stick to her guns and stand up for what she thought was just. Did social ostracization contribute to her early death? It's impossible to know what caused her to lose herself in the vices that contributed to the end of her life. But if Janis Joplin's formative years weren't filled with so much anguish, there's a chance she'd be alive today.
That's amazing. Tragic, but she lived a, very amazing life. Definitely. Thanks for watching. Definitely let me know what's your theory. Put your comments down in the comment section. Make sure you subscribe and like. Peace out.